podcast, episode 301. I'm your host, Jamie, and I'm joined by Melly.
Yes.
And Stephen.
You sure are.
And there's one question on everyone's lips. What's in the box? What's in the box? Well, it's Dyson Maida scoring goal number 3 as Celtic beat St Johnstone 7-0. Do you like that 7 joke?
I did, yes.
People were going Magnificent 7. I went down the David Fincher route with the horrible crime story 7.
It's a step up from Gerard Butler Vehicle 300 last week, isn't it? It's a step up from that. I think we can all agree.
I think what's in the book, that movie's pretty horrifying actually, and I hope I haven't ruined it for anyone that's not seen it. But
spoilers, mate, it's 26 years old or something.
Spoiler alert, in the box is Gwyneth Paltrow's head. Anyway, Melly, what did you make of that performance of the season?
One of the best performances I've seen a Celtic team play in my lifetime. It was absolutely unbelievable from start to finish, and you're going into the game thinking, right, a wee early goal to settle us down, and best case scenario, 3-0 at half time, bring on Kyogo. Then we get this performance in the second half where we've seen Celtic play so well this season, but not for a full 90 minutes like that, where they're just relentless. I loved every second of it.
Stephen, quite a lot of the times this season people have been saying, oh, one day we're going to absolutely blow a team away, one day we're going to win 7 or 8 or 9-0. I felt like that was the day. Everything clicked for Celtic. We were relentless all over the place. In
a way, it's actually quite hard a game to talk about in a podcast such as this, because normally we would say, oh, this was a really brilliant performance, but if you consider these angles, this happened, nothing went wrong at all, basically. No. I think we maybe got an injury I've not heard the full extent of, but I think Starfelt gave the ball away once. I think that's basically the length and breadth of my analysis on it. But genuine, what a performance it was. Absolutely brilliant. I went along to that thinking, we may be getting a wee bit carried away, because these home games can sometimes get stodgy. There might be the wee adrenaline dump after doing so well against Rangers. Let's just be careful here. And to go out and do that, completely unexpected. I never saw a 7-0 victory coming in a million years. Thought they'd win, but I thought it might be one of those victories you need to dig in and grind it out and all that. No such worries. Melly's right, one of the best performances I can remember from genuinely from any team that in my lifetime.
So pleasing, because as you say, after the Rangers game, Rangers would have been watching that.
Oh, yeah.
You want to set Melly's loving that. You drank that in there. But Rangers would be watching it, and you want to set a marker. So Rangers they're all huddled around their TV. Jermaine Defoe was in Glasgow. I actually saw him, so he was up, especially in the hope that Celtic would drop points. And you're watching it, and it's just like bang, 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 and it just never stops. And even the way we were playing, the constant closing down, I've never seen anything like. And people rightly singled Maeda for his closing, but it was everybody. It was absolutely everybody. And then the subs, the appearances from Turnbull, and then the performance from O'Reilly. I mean, there's so much to talk about. But my main takeaway from it was I was absolutely thrilled to see it, because it could have been a lull after the Rangers game. There could have been a bit of complacency setting in. Not that Ange was ever going to let that happen in his watch. And Rangers would have been absolutely hoping for that. Rangers would be thinking, right, okay, they might have beat us, but they've still got to beat St Johnstone, who were in a wee uptick of form. Absolutely blasted them.
Oh, blasted them. And I think they had a shot in the first minute or two that they Wales over, so it wasn't any problem. Not a single shot after that. So in 89 minutes of football, they didn't manage a shot against us. And look, you're right about the complacency thing, because you're looking at Celtic, and wouldn't let it happen, but also the players can't let it happen either, because when you look at that team that played against Rangers last week, you can go, look, nobody deserves to lose their place. But then you've got guys like Abada choking to play, Turnbull choking to come back, O'Reilly on the bench, Kyogo desperate to play. There's the MD that's on the pitch can't let their performance drop, because now we've got somebody to come in and take their place, and the person that can come in and take their place is capable of keeping that place. So nobody can let anything drop. We've got huge games coming up now where we could potentially get semi-final against Rangers to get to the cup final. We've got another Celtic Rangers game, and we've got a potential clinch the cinch game as well. So
you didn't invent that, did you?
I just did there.
Oh, brilliant.
So like the players can't let up, because there'll be somebody there to take their place, and this was the whole problem at the start of the season where we didn't have players to come in and out. Now we do, and you're like, Turnbull comes on, gets an assist. O'Reilly comes on, gets a double. Like, who's going to play next week?
As far as the league goes, Stephen, I've just got so much faith in Ange that complacency was obviously it's worth considering. It's a topic of conversation, and immediately after the Rangers game says, right, we can't throw this away, we need to beat St Johnstone. But I've got so much faith in Ange, I just don't think it's in his vocabulary.
Yeah, I mean, if you're to look at it objectively, I suppose you could say that complacency might even just be human nature after a game like that, after doing so well against Rangers, and it really being a difficult game at times, and getting over the line in that, in a difficult place to go, in a poisonous atmosphere, with bottles getting chucked in everywhere. You'd be forgiven for thinking, league's in the bag, lads. Let's just coast this one. Nothing could be further from the truth. And Melly said about the shots, and not only did they not get a shot on target, but apart from that goal, attempt on goal in the first couple of minutes, they didn't put a single shot between the corner flags. They didn't put the ball between the corner flags once in about 88 minutes or whatever it was. So, that's Celtic completely limited them to that. From very early on, they had a couple of breakaways that Starfelt completely snuffed out. He was looking sharp and fast as well. He's a lot faster than he's given credit for as well, because he looks sometimes quite awkward on the ball. He's not the kind of player you look at as having that kind of that stride on him like an Ayer or something like that, but he really was quite quick in that game. Greg Taylor, brilliant again. So other than that, nothing. It was just relentless attacks. Missed several sitters in the game as well. Having watched it back, Tom Rogic missed an absolute sitter in the first half where he danced through the defence and just kind of tamely poked it at the keeper.
More time than he thought.
Yeah, Abada had a couple towards the end he should have really done better with. Hatate nearly scored a hat-trick in the first half as well. This could have been any number of goals in this game, and it's hard to do this without just gushing about the performance, because it really was genuinely brilliant, really, really enjoyable. The atmosphere was better than any home game I can remember, aside from European games and Rangers games and all that.
Do you think that's because of the lack of tension now, because we've got that wee cushion?
I think so. I think that helps, and Hatate getting the goal quite early on definitely contributes to that as well. So we didn't have the usual really tense kind of like comments and getting on the players' backs. So there was nothing like that at all. It was just a total party atmosphere, and it was just a really enjoyable afternoon. Sun was out. Then it got inexplicably freezing towards the
Scotland.
end. I don't know what was going on there, but yeah, what a day for the Hoops.
That was smashing, and I've always said that competition kills complacency in a squad, but as well with the all-round performance. Like, we limited them to basically no shots, but when you see these 7-0 victories and you go, oh, the other team must have been rotten. St Johnstone weren't rotten.
No.
There was only one goal. Celtic pounced on the mistake for Giakoumakis' for his goal. But apart from that, it's not as if you could say they were all over the place, they were terrible. But Celtic just literally passed them to death. We had 960 passes or something like that. That's an incredible number.
They genuinely didn't have a sniff. They didn't have the ball at all. What was it, 84% or something like that possession Celtic had? Something ridiculous like that. They genuinely had none of the ball, no attacks, no dangerous breakaways of no anything at all. It was complete and utter Celtic control. And as I've already said, you could say, right, Celtic got what they deserved out of that game, 7-0, but it should have been should have been so many more to reward what level of performance that was. Some of the football on display. Again, I'm just gushing left and right here. I'm not making any.
I'm just letting you just run with it. This is great. The camera angle's above the waist, thankfully.
On purpose.
Yeah.
He's wearing grey joggies for the boys. I know. Unbelievable.
Hey.
Is that your only fans out here? No.
But I mean, the football on display as well. And again, it's quite hard to compare, because what you're always battling against is nostalgia. Like, see, when you think back to games when you were like 13, you think it's the best football I've ever seen in my life. Like when I was young, it was like Tommy Burns, and then after that, the best team I had was Martin O'Neill. But I don't think I'm being completely outrageous by saying that the way Celtic are playing just now under Postecoglou is up there with any of it. And I know it's only St Johnstone, but really, again, we've already spoken about how high pressure a game that could have been. It wasn't at all because of how Celtic played. But to go out there and just smash them like that is unbelievable.
It's the manner of the way they're winning these games. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, all these other teams are good in their own individual ways, but the way Ange has got this team, I've said it before, just the work ethic that he's got in this team, and the way that we just relentlessly hunt the ball down. Now, Callum Booth, ex-Hibs fullback, plays for St Johnstone. I've got a soft spot for him because he was tremendous for me in a Football Manager in a Football Manager season. In Football Manager, if you play Football Manager, Melly, you know what it's like. Yep. Sometimes these players do a turn for you. I think I sold him for 12 million to Newcastle United. He was brilliant for me one season. honestly, I felt for him. That transferred over feeling bad for him, because against St Johnstone, against Celtic rather, he was just terrified. Every time he was on the ball, he's knocking it out for play, just getting rid of it. He just couldn't. Maeda or somebody was on his case immediately, and he just couldn't handle a minute of it.
No, and on both sides, because I did feel sorry for both fullbacks, because Maeda switched from right to left and then to centre half, so he terrorised all of their back four. I think they even played Sean Rooney as a sort of right midfielder to try and sort of stifle Celtic. Didn't work at all. But Maeda, when he got moved from left to right, just terrorised both fullbacks, and Jota as well. Set up a goal, and it was just...
That was a great cross, by the way, for Maeda.
Yeah.
Great cross, underrated.
So just them, and then you had Giakoumakis, and then you think, oh, Giakoumakis is off injured. Bring on a Abada and put Maeda through the middle. The defence must be like, oh, come on, give us a break.
I want one
Maybe
of these
bring
guys.
on Kyogo.
I want one of these guys to go on open goal. They'll not come on our podcast, but I want an opposition player to go on open goal and just talk about what it's like to play against Daizen Maeda. I need to hear this from the horse's mouth. Look, if you can get Callum Booth or one of these fullbacks on open goal, I would love to hear about it.
It's not a shame, but you just... What can you do? Because usually when you're getting terrorised, it's the fact that a guy's skinning you, absolutely tearing you apart, ripping you to shreds, but they're doing that and pressing fuck out them every time they've got the ball or the ball goes near them. And it's not as if it's one guy pressing. The whole team is so coordinated. Everybody knows what they're doing. Everybody knows the triggers when to press, that you're so scared to pass the ball, because you know that guy inside you is going to get pressed as well. And as soon as we get that second goal where Callum Booth makes the mistake, it just plays in the mind of all the other players, and nobody could get near us, man. It was unbelievable. And they didn't even do that thing where they just lose the plot and start booting you up and down, because they couldn't even get near us to do that.
What was your pick of the goals, boys? I think Giakoumakis was a very underrated finish.
Lovely,
super tight angle for
Ryler's for me.
Which one? He scored two.
The second one, the wee drag back and bang, top corner.
It's definitely that one for me, including... And I have to admit, I wasn't really aware of this at the time, because the build up to it was something like 40 odd passes or something like that. Since that came to light afterwards, I wasn't really paying attention to that at the time, because all I was thinking about was going to hurry up and put the ball out of play so Kyogo can come on, because he was standing in the touchline for a couple of minutes before that, and I thought, right, come on, the ball's got to go out of play at some point, because every day we'd already had a wee tease, because the crowd were doing that kind of whoa, and then he didn't come on. So the whole build up to that was spent thinking, right, Kyogo's coming on in a second, and I was thinking, right, put the ball out of play, and if you're going to put it out of play, you may as well smash it into the top corner, I suppose. It does the trick.
It technically is out of play. I think that the most pleasing thing for me, as I said, was the performance, but it's the time we're hitting these performances. I mean, I know the thing all season is Ange's teams, they try and hit peak performance towards the end of the season, and you think to yourself, if you can program it that week, just program it to happen a wee bit earlier.
Yeah.
But I think
the week's break in between's massive for us, isn't it?
Well, that's it, is when we've got the week's break, we don't have European football to contend with, and we can properly focus on our opponents. It's something that Ange just touched on before. But I mean, there might be something in this, hitting peak fitness and peak performance at this time.
I was thinking about this before, but I can't remember any specific games, but I remember at points this season talking about how satisfied I'd been with performances that just led to like a 2-0 or 3-1 or whatever victory, because what I compared it to was, I said, Man City do this all the time because they're so confident that they'll be able to keep the ball off the opponent. They'll go 2-0 up and just kill the game for even half an hour or something like that, because they're so confident in their system and everybody's job that they'll just see a game out, and they're very, very good at that. And I compared that to the way Celtic were going about it. I think even having played it, I can't remember any specific games. I just remember talking about that.
I do remember you talking about it. Can confirm.
Yeah, thank you. So let me know in the comments. But now that's not happening. That's not happening at all. We're going out and putting 7 past teams. And
how big a thing do you think the 5 subs is for us?
Yeah. I think it's massive. I think I understand why teams don't want that to come in. I've never been a big fan of it either. I know Ange in the past hasn't. He was kind of sceptical of it at first.
I love it now.
Yeah, but then he came, no wonder. But then he came around to it, and he understood that it's because of unprecedented times and all that, and players been away in international duty. It's a very difficult workload these days, so that changes have to come. But I've always been a wee bit wary of it, because you're effectively changing 50% of your outfield team, and I think that's kind of nuts.
cheating a wee. It's not cheating, but it's not within the spirit of the game, is it?
It hugely favours the teams with the greater resources, especially if you get your recruitment as well as Celtic have done, where you're reaching, and Mel, you've mentioned this a couple of times actually, you're reaching back and you've got all these top class players, all these guys that are choking to come on. Abada, who's got 15 goals or something like this season. Kyogo is just coming back for injury.
Wait till Jetty comes back.
We get a Yeti. Sorrow isn't even getting a look in. Imagine when these guys come back. But yeah, I think it hugely favours the teams with the greater players. But that's...
My kind of thoughts on it are, though, you shouldn't be able to basically whole change your entire approach to the game through the substitution system. Like the managers, they can make like subs here or subs there. They have to consider injuries. They can tweak it. But as you say, if you can change almost half your outfield team, you can set out to play the game one way and then just completely change your approach if it's not going your way. And it's kind of, I think it's a wee bit of a cop out. But again, it benefits us. So
it works both ways as well. Say if by some sort of magic St Johnstone were beating us 1-0, they could bring on more defensive players throughout the game to freshen up their team towards the end. So it's always like late on in those games where Celtic are more likely to score because they're fitter, they're better, more prepared. But if St Johnstone can change half their team and keep half their back line fresh for it, then it could benefit them as well. It's just a pity Celtic smashed them.
I'm glad that at least it's staggered though. You can't just make 5 substitutions all in the one go, because imagine you were doing that. Imagine you were playing against Livingston and they're playing like a 5-4-1 and all of a sudden the board comes up and they're taking off the 4-1 for 5 defenders all in one go.
Jose would definitely do that.
100% Mourinho would be up for that. So at least you can't do that just yet, but that might be the next innovation. Arsene Wenger's got to do something with his day. He's always looking at these.
That was one of his ideas, wasn't it? The subs.
Probably.
He's coming up with all sorts of mad ideas. Arsene. I think the thing about Celtic at the moment is, and the confidence that I've got in the team, you said it before we recorded, Melly, the post-split fixtures came out. We've got Ross County, Rangers, Hearts, Dundee United and Motherwell.
Yep.
And we've got Ross County at home, Rangers at home.
No, Ross County away, Rangers at home, Hearts at home, Dundee United away and Motherwell at home.
Yeah.
Aye, and you says we kind of talk about beating Rangers as if it's
a given.
A given, and it's not. It's really not a given. But if we win the league against Hearts, if we beat Hearts and we beat Rangers and beat Ross County, that's when we can more or less wrap up the league. But how confident really are you for the rest of these fixtures coming up?
I think the game of this weekend, this cup game, is going to be massive because
we can't win. Look, we can't win another treble. That would be absurd.
I know, because we've been so good, and then last season you're just like, nah. You're kind of going back to the pre-quadruple treble. You go, trebles are hard to win, but that was going into the game the weekend thinking, right, just get a win here and get the confidence up for next week, and then you go out and win 7-0 and you go, you know what, are we as good as we think? Because it's starting to look like we are. I'm trying to keep a lid on it. Go away to Ibrox. I don't think we played brilliantly, but we done enough and thoroughly deserved the win, get the job done. Really crushes them and kind of ends a lot of their title hopes. Then we go out and smash St Johnstone 7-0 and you're like, oh no, like, are we too good here? And even if it's not going well, you've got O'Reilly and Turnbull to come on, you've got Kyogo
doing his thing.
You've got Ralston and Beaton, who came on last week and did great jobs, didn't even get close to getting on. So there's players there. I think John Kennedy said we had 26 players training last week. That's the most we've had all season. It's only Forest that's out. So you're looking at it going, we've got so many options. And look, I think next week's game is going to be difficult. If we can get through that, then the league games, they're not a formality, but Ross County away, Malky Mackay, for much it pains me to say it, he's probably in the running for the runner-up to manager of the year to Ange if Ange win the league. So, and then you've got Rangers, you're hoping to get the victory there, but 3 home games out of 5, we should have enough there, shouldn't we?
It's post-splits fixture, Stephen. 3 out of 5 at home. I mean, without getting too on top of things, the league is not wrapped up yet. You know, collapses do happen. It doesn't matter how much faith I've got in Ange, collapses do happen. But at the same time, you're looking at these fixtures and you're going, "What? We win 3 out of the 5, and we're champions."
It's definitely a good position. There's no getting away from it. It's a good position to be in, and excuse me, a potential. I don't want to get carried away with this as well. Like a potential 5th treble in 6 years, 6 years, is it?
No, I'm not having it, Stephen. We can't just make winning trebles a thing, right? We can't just a matter of course, because people will get bored. Kids will get bored of that.
Aye, that's it.
these things always happen in Scottish football. The world's most successful club next door, don't it? In the world.
Not for long. I'll still be doing this podcast until we take that fake title off.
Do you know what I might start doing? I might try and catch the attention of humourless irony assassins Kerryfield on Twitter. I might just start tweeting about how if we win the league this year, that's the real 10. Ange has secured the 10. We failed last year, but then we just did it the next season.
But you don't have to. Well, we did win 10 in a row with fans in the stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, that's with fans in the stadium, we won
Very
10
true.
in a row.
Ange secures the 10.
That title last year was just bounce games, basically.
Yeah,
doesn't really count. So Ange came in and swooped in and secured the 10. Melly, you got to see the man up close last week. We had some questions in the Discord. You were at the International Coaches Convention. A few people want to know, what was it like seeing Ange working close quarters?
Oh, I nearly ejaculated, man.
Oh,
it was
that
so
is
so good.
It's deeply unpleasant for a podcast. Don't never ever do that again.
Say that again. or make it funny, not medical.
It's tremendous, man. But to be fair, Ange, he didn't. It was John Kennedy that ran the session. John Kennedy and Darren O'Day done the session. I think Stevie Woods had COVID. He wasn't there, and I didn't see Cyber Gav either. But it was just the absolute intensity that Celtic train at was absolutely incredible to watch. The fast pace, the just sheer quality in it as well, and it's just watching them. Like, this is a team that's on it, man. They're all, when they're training, they don't have like shin guards in, but Giakoumakis is still sliding into tackles in a possession box and all that, and his finishing was great. It was just great to see it up front, the technique of all the players and all that, and just the intensity. And Celtic's, they only trained for an hour, but it was bang, 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 players all at it. So you can see why Ange has been building towards this. And you sort of got to see a lot of John Kennedy as well. He pretty much ran the session, as I said. He'd done a Q&A with us after it, and Ange just stood at the side and watched it all go down. So it was great to see up front.
Did they mention anything about, one-touch finishes? Is that a speciality? How many one-touch finishes were in that St Johnstone game, by the way?
There's a one-touch penalty. One-touch header.
The Giakoumakis, was that? No, it wasn't a one-touch.
No,
was
Hatate was one-touch.
Hatate, unbelievable.
A header from O'Reilly as well.
Oh, wow.
Thankfully that's gone, the one-touch stuff, because it had reached silly point.
And slated it. He did a presentation after it in a Q&A, and he was talking about his whole philosophy and all that, and he said, we get the ball into these areas and we get a lot of first-time finishes. Apparently that's a massive thing in Scottish football.
See, when it gets to the point where you're asking the player himself about how many touches it takes to put the ball over the line, it has reached absolutely ludicrous levels. So thankfully that's in the bin now that he's taken 2, because that was silly. Most goals are scored one-touch finish, the vast majority. So that's over. So I'd again like to apologise for the language used a minute ago. My mum watches these. I've fallen in with the wrong crowd again.
I apologise.
You could maybe beep over for us, Stephen. It's a bit dirty.
I get a bit carried away.
Yeah, certainly do.
Sounds like it.
You were up at Lennoxtown. You're not the only man who seemed to be up at Lennoxtown or Celtic Park. Dermot Desmond appeared, crawled out of the crypt or wherever he spends his time to release an interview where he covered a lot of stuff. My main takeaway before I got on to what he covered, my main takeaway was why. I'm not quite sure. If you maybe it's because we beat Rangers. There's a lot of good feeling about it, and he's like, right, I need to absorb some of this. I need to absorb some of this good feeling. I probably would have waited to the end of the season though before, but I don't get to tell Dermot Desmond what he wants to do with his money, and he doesn't get to tell me what I want to do with mine.
Drip Daddy Desmond.
Some of the topics covered, which took a lot of ire from people, was Fraser Foster was told us he was going to come back. We made the decision to let Craig Gordon go, and then Fraser Foster decided he didn't want to come back. We went out and bought Barkas. That caused a bit of furore online, people saying, well, why are we agreeing to this? And that was a mistake and all that. My takeaway from it, Stephen, was the timelines don't need to match up. Fraser Foster in June could say he wants to go. Craig Gordon's contract's ending at the end of July. He wants to know what he's going to do with his future. So you just let Craig Gordon make his decisions, and then you go out and you buy Barkas, who was highly rated at the time.
Craig Gordon was third choice at the time as well.
Gordon was going anyway. There's no way If he gets the offer to go back to Hearts and be their first choice keeper for the foreseeable future, he's going to take that. He's not going to sit on the bench at Celtic. That's ridiculous.
I think that just plays into this silly narrative that's going about the Celtic should never let Craig Gordon go. It's I don't buy into that for a second. Do you have any thoughts on the handshake thing? The Fraser Foster saying he was coming back and changing his mind. Do you think Celtic should have been a bit more firm on that?
What else can you do if the guys gave you his word and you can't just go out and get him then? You need to wait till his contract expires with Celtic's loan move, then get him again. But isn't that like... I didn't really take much notice of the Desmond interview because I was like, well, what's the point in it now? I just browsed over it. But if Celtic agree a thing with Foster, you go, right, good, we're getting the same guy back. That's a good contingency plan. But is it then he's not coming and we go out and spend money on a replacement? Isn't that the right thing to do?
Well, yeah, I mean, it would be
better if he's good.
Yes,
mind you,
I mean, I don't want to sit here and defend Dermot Desmond, but I think that all the way that Celtic operated in these last couple of years, because there was lots of mistakes made. But I think when Barkas came in, people were pretty positive about him. I mean, we went out and spent $5 million on a Champions League goalkeeper from Greece. So he comes in. The next talking point was the Neil Lennon thing. And he sort of said, look, he had faith in Neil Lennon. The things we do, the way we do things at Celtic, we offer support to people and to help them do the job and get the job right. I just wish they would stop talking about Neil Lennon at Celtic. We just need to let that period pass, don't we?
Oh, the time for this was long, long ago. I don't want to hear about it ever again, frankly. Never mind now when there's a huge swell of positivity about the club. The fans couldn't be more behind the club just now. I mean, I say the club, I mean the team and the managers and all that. The board is always going to be a source of contention for a lot of people. But I just don't want to hear about it just now. I don't want to hear about Neil Lennon. I don't want to hear about remember the January review and all that stuff. I don't want to.
Just let it die down.
I do not want images of that conjured up in my head when we're in the middle of admittedly we're in a good place, but it's still a title race just now. I don't want to be thinking about Neil Lennon and that Christmas where we were all basically in absolute misery over the state of the team. So no,
it was so bad. And it's worse when you think about his next comment that Andrews, they're always on the lookout for the next potential Celtic manager, and Ange was on a list of 5 names. And immediately when I heard that, I thought, so the Japanese season ends about Christmas. Ange was sitting twiddling his thumbs. You had Neil Lennon guiding a sinking ship here. You probably could have been Neil Lennon and got Ange in last year to rescue something. But one takeaway for me was, and sort of gauging by what a lot of people were saying on social media, was that there's this theory that the board have sort of lucked out on Ange, that it was a lucky draw. A lot of people have said that's their takeaway from it. I mean, I'd like to see the working on that thought process. I'd also like to see the working that ended up with Ange at the club, because they may have just lucked out with the City Group connection. But however they ended up with Ange Postecoglou, it's been a revelation.
Yeah, and look, I think it is just the City Group thing that really does that, because it's always going to be LOL, City Group. That's going to be the link there. But
sorry to interrupt, but another important point was he did say it was Peter and himself that appointed Ange, and Ange said he would walk 500 miles to manage Celtic. No, do you remember a guy called Don Mackay?
Yes.
No mention of that.
No. But the board and Peter Law thing, we covered it extensively last season, but we've said it multiple times. See, if you're going to be like Man City, be like them then. Go and do the right stuff, because there's probably not a better club to go and copy, and that's what Celtic should be doing. And if Ange is sort of within that group, that's the type of guys we should be looking at, because it's the exact type of football Celtic want to play. It's the exact type of character that we want in a manager, and that's what we got. So does it really matter how we got him? No, really, because we got him now, and the guy's been a revelation, better than anything we could have expected. It's to be in this position where we are right now is beyond my wildest dreams. I think if at the start of the season, if we were 6 points behind going into these last 5 games, you'd be like, you know what, we've got a game against them. If we beat them, we could luck out and win the title. To be 6 points ahead with a home game against them in a cup semi-final with a trophy in the bag is beyond my wildest dreams.
I just want to sort of go back a wee bit and say, though, I think that the point is, and I think it's important, Stephen, to think about this, is if they locked out an Ange, all the mistakes and errors that were made during the Neil Lennon thing are, those levers are still in place. They could be pulled, and the same mistakes could happen again at any point. I struggle to buy into the narrative that Celtic lucked out on this manager from Japan that nobody'd ever heard of. That it's just, if they were going to luck out, say they appointed, I don't know, Jack Ross, and Jack Ross came good, then I say, you just lucked out. You just took the guy across the M8. He kind of lucked out a wee bit. But I think you need to do your homework in someone like Ange, don't you? You need to go and sort of find him. He's a bit like scouting a good player. That's I think the working that went into Ange more than just lucking out on him.
Yeah, I think you can remain sceptical and healthily sceptical and critical of the board's methods and how they go about things, because I think that's right. I think you should always hold people to account that are running the club. But that you don't have to extend that all the way to the fact that they're just bumbling idiots staggering about the halls of Celtic Park, stepping on rakes, and Dermot Desmond's walking about, he steps in a bucket of water and his tie comes flying. They don't have to be outright imbeciles for you to still retain the healthy, skepticism of how they run things. I don't think they're just lucking out. I don't really know what that means. How do you appoint a girl like that?
See, if you're going to criticise, sorry to interrupt, but if you're going to criticise, the level of criticism sort of needs to be above just pointing at it going, lucked out, rubbish, bad, show your working a wee bit on it. And I find it difficult that they locked out an Ange is basically what I'm saying. Included in the Dermot Desmond thing was a wee dig at Rangers about how they're always going to be financially prudent, how he's not going to sell his shares.
See, on the Ange thing as well, when we are talking about the board and how they got things wrong, like, yeah, they got things wrong last year, but in the summer they tried to fix that because they went for Eddie Howe, who is proven to be a very good manager for Newcastle, and when they didn't get him, they went and got a better manager in Ange Postecoglou. So the two targets they went for are two very, very good managers. So,
in the speed of time, I think I don't want to retread all this. This is the problem with Dermot Desmond. People are talking about this now, but Eddie Howe collapsed, and then was it 5 days later they announced that they were bringing in Postecoglou? So that's how. Is that not how you do it? You work on target one, and then you keep people in the back burner.
It's like the Foster thing, isn't it? Foster Barkas.
I'm not saying they're perfect because I know people might pick up on that, but I feel like that's kind of how it should work.
Well, Postecoglou was linked the day that Eddie Howe turned it down.
Was it the day? I knew it was very, very soon.
Stephen McGowan said it straight up. Was it straight away?
Yeah, we did a live reaction to the Eddie Howe deal falling through, which seems all trite now when you think back to it. But we were convinced it was going to be him for obvious reasons. But then it was announced that it wasn't going to be. And Ange Postecoglou's name was mentioned that day because we scoffed at it. We're like, who the hell is that guy?
Fellas, have you started spring cleaning yet? The carpets need cleaning, the drapes need dusting, and your lawn needs mowing. Spring has sprung, and the global leaders in below-the-waist grooming have the best tools for cleaning aisle 5 in your pants. Time to clear out your winter bush and join 4 other million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code TIMS. Manscaped is committed to raising awareness for the most common form of cancer in men aged 15 to 35 and is giving support for fighters, survivors and families impacted by testicular cancer as part of their We Save Balls initiative. So, get 20% off and free shipping with the code TIMS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code TIMS at manscaped.com. It's time to throw out your old hygiene habits and upgrade your life. So in essence, Dermot, see if you're going to speak, can you just kind of wait until we've won the league and not come out and cause distractions and kind of just bask in all the good stuff that Ange is doing, just for the time being, just let it go?
Yeah, just don't geese your pish. Come back to me when we've done some...
You're a daft billionaire.
So we have
He lucked out in those billions as well, by the way. Put them in a suitcase, a big brown bag.
Probably. Shouldn't have them, that's what I say. Right, listen, enough's enough. League... That's taking care of itself at the moment. Scottish Cup, Rangers, Easter Sunday, Hampden. Melly, you confident? I'm not.
As confident as I can be with these games. As we've already spoke about in the past, it's the childhood trauma. And look, Celtic have been playing very well recently, but look, it was a tough game at Ibrox. We had to really go and grind out. I do think Celtic can play better, but just looking at it, going too well, man. Like a treble again.
I just don't believe it. I just don't think, Stephen, we could just go, treble, take it, right? No bother, as if you're just picking it up off a shop.
Because the game has to be won, doesn't it? We kind of just, it's not one on paper. We are playing well. We won 7-0, but Rangers bounced back at the weekend there and got a decent result. But they went and won 4-0 when there's no pressure on them anymore, really. They win games because, well, they're 6 points behind. Realistically, they probably won't win the league, so they go out and smash teams. But when the pressure's on them, that's when you see the true Rangers. So I'm hoping again, the ideal situation is they go out on Thursday and they get beat in Europe and they go out of that. Then on Sunday, fans are tetchy with them. Celtic get off to a decent start and there's more ravenous bears in the crowd going at them. Because look, if Celtic turn up and play the way we can play, we should have enough to beat.
Stephen, I refuse to accept that this season is just going to go from us sitting here going, Ange Postecoglou, who's that, to me sitting going, look, we need to find a way to win these games. We can't keep dropping points, to just going, treble, do you know what fair dues? If we play our own game, we'll beat Rangers at Hampden. I'm not having that, Stephen. I want more cutting. I want you to...
Where's his bravado gone for the other week?
Hey, I reserve that for the patrons. Patreon.com/20Minute Tims is where you can get extra content from us and support this wonderful podcast. If you've been following us for a while, you have seen that we've changed from 3 guys in a room on our knees, literally on our knees, huddled around £150 microphone, to everything you see here. We have full coverage of all the league run-in, as well as all the celebrations if we do win the league in the cup. Patreon.com/20Minute Tims, podcasts, videos, and writing. Stephen, and bravado, Stephen.
It's out of camera, but there's a wee figurine of Henri Camara just above my head there. Just an example of some of the laughs we have around here.
Charlie Mulgrew there.
Charlie Mulgrew, yep, just over. Yep.
Yeah,
raging into.
Charlie, please come on the podcast. My absolute favourite. How
do I feel about this game? It's the same as always, really. I think Celtic are playing really, really well and have good reason to be very confident. However, is the league maybe the focus now? Again, talk about
a week to this game, mate.
We talk about human nature. Is it maybe natural to be just like thinking about the league now?
Ange won't allow that.
This is the problem, Stephen, right? I refuse to accept we're just going to win a treble as a matter of course this season, right? Ange's first season. You don't just walk into the cinch. You don't just walk into Scotland and win trebles like that.
Well, we do, because we've done it.
Refuse to accept it, but when I look at the players, I think, God, they're all amazing. When I look at the ones come back for injury, I think, God, Kyogo, Bullers, he's coming back, right? When I look at the manager, I've got trust in my real dad, Ange Postecoglou, right? And when I look at Rangers, I think, bums. You're all bums. Rangers have gone fake. Can you see us now? To blink and you miss it. That's what's happened to them, right?
How many eyes are they blinking with?
Just 2, right? Oh, yeah, that's right. Blink with both eyes. Yes, that's right. Hampden, it's a training ground for us. Hamders is a training ground for us, Stephen. So there must be something in this equation here. There must be a fly in the ointment, a spanner in the works.
Maybe.
A panic button.
Yeah, and
I want you to give
me.
You're
riddled with panic buttons.
No, that's the thing. I want you to give me panic buttons.
Right. See, I'm absolutely coursing with panic buttons all over me. I don't know. I can't really see. As Melly says, if anything, we're playing too well, Clive, at the moment. Yeah. If anything, we're scoring too many goals at the moment. I'm confident. I think Celtic can win this game. To be honest, a treble would be absolutely delightful. Of course it would. But
it has to be said though, Stephen, right? This is the semi-final.
Yes.
So it's not just win this and get a treble.
That's absolutely true. And if we do get past this, and I don't want to look past this, you will have either one of those teams, Hearts or Hibs, that get through. That's what their season is going to be all about. That final, whoever gets to the final, that's all their season's resting on now, because Hibs have failed to get into the top 6 and Hearts are so comfortable in third that they basically don't really need to do anything for the rest of the season. So
tough one for Sean if he loses that, isn't it?
Oh yeah, big time, under pressure. But Celtic have good reason to be very confident. They're the best team in the country. On current form, I don't think I'm being controversial. Nope. I don't want to hear about it in the comments, Bears. Right? I know you're ravenous and snarling and clawing out there, Bears, but I don't think it's controversial to say that on current form, Celtic are comfortably the best team in the country, scoring the most goals, conceding the fewest goals. That's how it works. That's how form works.
By the way, did you see the tweet Barcelona put up recently?
The Rangers one, eh?
What?
Then our Rangers made up hanging it.
This is, what is it? We've won 15 games in a row, the most in Europe. And people like Celtic have won 30, or Porto won 57 or something. It's
absolutely
just made up.
Nonsense.
WWF style.
Never liked Barcelona. I never liked them.
Controversial take, that one, but we'll leave that for another day.
No, ever since we were piping them up the Celtic way and all that years ago.
Oh, that was gross, man. Remember?
This game, so I caught no more than a few minutes of their game, the St Mirren versus the Old Firm.
Old Firm FC.
I saw a little bit of it. They went 1-0 up quite early on, so I just chucked it, quite frankly. I wasn't doing my job, but we were going to do a bit of previewing for that. Couldn't be bothered with it. I didn't want to see them rout it. So Kemar Roof scored 2 free headers by the looks of it. They got a key injury, I noticed, though. Helander was on crutches, so it's unlikely he'll make it. However, I don't really concern myself with that, because I think Balogun is always pretty reliable against Celtic. I don't think he's really all that much to crow about in a difference between Helander. There's kind of much of a muchness between their centre halves. So it's going to be Goldson and one of them anyway, so I'm not really bothered about that. Morelos being missing is huge for them because I think Roof's quite good. I think he's a decent player, but I think them not having Morelos immediately after Celtic have gubbed them twice recently, they immediately started talking about how they were missing Morelos. Basically, they can't play without Morelos, so that stands going into this as well. I'm confident about it. I don't think it'll be the end of the world if we don't get through this, to be perfectly honest. I'll be gutted at the time. I will be.
Yeah.
I don't ever like losing to Rangers, but
you take the bigger picture.
Yeah,
where we were
I think so.
to where we are.
Of course I want to win a treble, of course I do, but will I be totally crestfallen if Celtic don't make yet another final? The answer's no, and I'm only being honest. I'm only speaking for myself. Of course I would love to win it, and I'll be gutted for hours afterwards if that were to happen, but I think Celtic can take the positives from that and go on and get the job done in the league.
Crestfallen.
Aye.
First time for crestfallen on the podcast, isn't there? Jesus.
Remember we were speaking about it recently where we said, look,
almost more offensive than
you made me feel bad for saying that now. It's when we were speaking recently about, look, we've got 3 games against Rangers coming up, one at Ibrox, one at Hampden, one at Celtic Park, one down. Kind of looking at these other 2 games, and I'm just wary that we're going, right, if we beat Rangers in the cup semi-final, then we beat them at home, we can win the league at Hearts away. And I'm like, it might happen like that, but in my head, because of everything we've been through as fans, like, can I beat them 3 times now?
Plus it's pragmatic because Rangers are still a decent side. They're not like the waffle that the rest of the league's made up by. They're second. They were first for a very, very long time. And it was a tricky tie at Ibrox.
Yeah.
So they're going to be our most difficult opponent. What if, let me put this, Steve, what if we lose at Hampden, right? Do you think that sets us on a shaky peg for the Celtic Park game? Do you think that might have a knock-on effect? Get their tails up a wee bit, show them that they can beat us? Stephen's nodding.
Possibly, but I've just got faith in this team that we've seen when they drop points against Hibs, but beating teams after that, we don't let... Rarely have we, this season, apart from the start, have we dropped points in more than one game at a time or lost and then lost the next one. We seem to bounce back fairly quickly, and there's still the odd question mark over this team. Not much anymore, but this is a huge game, and it's one game if we win this in the final, and I know we're taking it in a sort of bigger picture as a treble, but again, it's just if you go out and beat Rangers, you're in the final of the Scottish Cup, and then you've got one game to win the Cup, and then we've got league games. So if we're doing what Andrew's doing, taking it one game at a time, we've got a week's break in here. Rangers will get a tough European game in there. Giakoumakis will likely be out, so there's maybe question marks.
Hugo loves Hampden.
To be honest, I don't think he'll start. I think if there was they might. But
surely he must start. He's been on the bench. He's
been
fit for weeks.
The only thing that was his first week of full training last week. But the only thing is, if he was ready to start a game, I think he would have came on for Giakoumakis on the 25-minute mark rather than bring on Abada. So that's the only thing that's put doubt in my head, because not coming on till the 72nd minute, getting 18 minutes in his legs, and then going into a Hampden game against Rangers, I don't see Ange doing that. I think it'll be Abada that plays. Maeda will go through the middle and we'll have Kyogo on the bench.
It's not quite as effective, that is it? I mean, Maeda's been great recently, but I don't know if he's necessarily that great through the middle.
But we used to say he's better through the middle than out wide, and he's just been brilliant everywhere.
I think that's it's kind of coloured in my opinion by how good Giakoumakis has been recently, and obviously Kyogo.
Abada's still a top scorer.
I'm kind of be far off it. But it just seems a little bit less potent, I would say, that front three without the very obvious focal point of Giakoumakis or
physical presence.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but if that's the only option, it's not that I'm not confident in it. It's just that it gives me pause for thought, and I think it's a wee bit less ferocious than the front three we could offer. But if that's the front three, if Abada comes in, then I mean he scored at the weekend as well and could have had more. So he'll be
scored against Rangers as well.
Yeah, of course. He'll be choking to get back into the team and back in pressing. So I don't think there's really a lineup that I could see currently that would make me think, I don't really know about this, so I'm less confident because there was so many options.
Barkas and goal. Ball and goalie
Ball and
left
goalie.
back. Ajeti up front.
Just do that for the last game of the season. Give them all your old favourites. Give them a wave
Sorrow.
as they're coming out. Ajeti. Just wave them all goodbye. Look, we should have probably mentioned it earlier on, but we have a sponsor for this week's podcast. It's footballprizes.co.uk. This week they are raffling away for £3.95 a ticket or 10% off if you use the code TIMS, a signed and framed Dyson Maeda home shirt. I think we've all bought tickets for that.
Oh, yes.
So it's footballprizes.co.uk. Use code TIMS and they give away Celtic prizes every single week. So the draw is on Thursday. There's only 99 tickets, so it's no one of these things with a million tickets. It's 99 tickets priced at £3.95, or if you use our code, you get a discount, and it's signed Celtic merchandise every week. And this week it's Dyson Maeda home shirt.
That would look lovely in here, guys.
Oh,
that
aye.
would look lovely.
I don't want to take down my keep the hail.
No.
Charlie Mulgrew's not leaving. So if
No.
we win that, we're going to have to find space for it elsewhere, because I'm definitely not taking Charlie Mulgrew down. Anyway, bring on the Rangers on Easter Sunday. It's going to be Hampden. Hampden's miserable. We all know it. We don't like Hampden.
Bring your tricolours, lads.
Bring your tricolours.
That's
Yes,
right.
yes. Hampden is going to be a bit miserable. We don't like it. The trip there's always crap. Getting home's always a nightmare. And it's always, why is it always pissing down at Hampden as well?
Yeah,
It's
no.
always Baltic and pissing down. But anyway, that doesn't matter. We will have immediate match reaction on patreon.com/20minute Tims, and that's where we'll wrap up this episode of 20 Minute Tims. Thank you so much to everyone who watches and listens. Thanks especially to everyone who's tuned in. Last week's podcast was the biggest on YouTube that we've ever done, probably one of the biggest podcasts we've ever put out anywhere. So thanks so much to everyone that's tuned in and likes and comments. And if you don't want to join the Patreon, that's fine. Just subscribe to our YouTube, leave a wee comment, or leave a 5-star review on your podcast app. There's a bunch of ways you can help us out if you like what we're doing. Thank you so much.